Greetings to all alternative rock music fans. They say that geniuses are born with a superpower, and today's our guest is a living proof. Perfect pitch from a cradle, a guitar player since his teens, and now a musician whose energy blows the roof off. What's more, he is a dedicated vocal teacher with his own studio here in St. Petersburg, and he has two iconic projects we know and love, nostalgic My Chemical Romance tribute and rebellious Undercover Crew. So put your hands together for Овчинников Илья.
Thanks for having me. You're way too kind. It's very nice.
Ilya, it's so rare to meet a person who actually teaches and performs art. So let's talk about teaching side first. That's quite a crucial role. And what philosophy do you instill in your teaching? And what methods do you use to unlock your students' potential, especially in the area of extreme vocal, where safety and technique are vital?
Well, I can't really say that it is much of a philosophy, but I surely have some very important advice for everyone who wants to study vocals. So the advice is quite simple. You have to be consistent throughout your practice. And the obvious part, of course, is that you have to put a lot of time and effort in order to achieve basically any progress. I think that pretty much everybody understands that. So here comes not so obvious part. You see, most people have some sort of schedule for their practice, and usually it involves something like one lesson per week with their teacher, and also if they're lucky they have an additional hour of practice when they can do some sort of exercise by themselves. And it is really great if they have that, because this additional hour essentially doubles the amount of your practice time. What most people don't realize is that you can split this time between several different days, and that would be more efficient in terms of your overall progress. So you might ask me, how is that better? So, well,
I do.
Yeah. So, I can think of at least two reasons for that. So the first one is very simple. So if you don't feel very well, or you have something going on in your life and you have to skip your practice for basically whatever reasons you might have, you won't lose too much of practice time. So, and that is great on its own. But there's another reason which is a bit more complicated, and it has to do with the way how our brain works. So you see, our brain is quite lazy, and it always tries to optimize everything that we do on a regular basis. So we are going to take advantage of that and trick our brain into building some sort of muscle memory by making smaller but more intense and frequent practice sessions. So this way your muscle memory will develop much more rapidly, because you would have less time between your practice sessions. So yeah, you should be consistent with your time and with the way, how you practice. And also I used to have quite a few students who wanted to learn everything at the same time, or a different situation, they wanted to learn some specific technique, and they tried a lot of different approaches to that technique. And they watched a lot of YouTube videos, they got some advice from their friends or from different teachers. And I understand that all of this comes from their passion and dedication. But yeah, unfortunately, this whole thing leads to confusion and frustration, because again, instead of focusing on one thing at a time, you just split your effort, you split your attention across a lot of different stuff, and it is very detrimental for your overall progress.
And it didn't work for them, right?
Yes, they come to me and they have learned a lot of different stuff. They don't know which tip they should follow, because sometimes those tips even contradict each other.
Yeah, that's huge confusion indeed.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you so much. Great insights.
So yeah, this advice might seem quite obvious, but again, you have to be really,
everyone.
Yeah, you should really be consistent with everything that you do, especially with the ways how you practice.
All right. So that probably means that you have to battle against these very popular misconceptions about extreme vocal.
Oh yeah.
So what are the biggest myths about extreme vocal, and actually what are the most popular pitfalls that beginners can fall into when they just starting out?
I would say probably one of the biggest misconceptions about extreme vocals is that you have to be extremely loud while doing them, that somehow this type of singing requires you to be obnoxiously loud. Well, in fact, if you do it in a proper way, your overall amount of volume would be pretty much the same as in your normal singing. And to understand why is that, we'll have to dive just a little bit into the anatomy of this whole process and
Anatomy.
And understand how extreme vocals work on a very basic level. So we have our vocal cords. These are two small pieces of tissue, V-shaped. They're very small, tender and gentle, and they can close together like this. So when they do close and when you push some air from your lungs at the same time, they start vibrating, and this vibration basically produces the sound that we hear whenever we speak or sing. So just above our vocal cords, located a thing that is called false cords. So those those have nothing in common with our vocal cords. They are different size and shape. They have different function. They are even a different type of tissue. So it's just a name that is a little bit similar. So the primary and natural function of our false cords is to close whenever we hold our breath. So they sort of protect our lungs from any dust, air, saliva, basically anything that shouldn't be in our lungs. So yeah. Now, when we want to do some extreme vocals, we have to sing a note just the normal way as we would usually do with our vocal cords, and then on top of that we have to put our false cords in a sort of semi-closed position. Yeah, that is not quite simple as that sounds.
All right.
Yeah, and if we do it properly, our false cords will start vibrating under the influence of that sound that we produce with our vocal cords. So this vibration of our false cords creates the distortion in our clean note. Now, I'll just demonstrate it to you very quickly. I will start by singing a clean note, and then I will gradually bring my false cords together. And as I will be doing so, you'll hear that the amount of distortion in our sound increases. And at the very end, I will just shut my false cords completely, so they will block the air passage, and the sound will basically stop. So, okay, here it comes. So you could hear there's a whole spectrum of different sounds, from very light distortion to some quite heavy stuff, which could be used in metal music. And you could choose whichever sound you would like for your specific case. And also, if you listen to it very carefully, as I was bringing in that distortion, the clean note that is somewhat behind all of this distortion started to fade out just a little bit. So
I definitely can't recreate that. But
yeah. It's very hard for a lot of people to do, because again, our natural function is to close or be open with our false cords, and this semi-closed position is completely unnatural. It's just not programmed in our body at all by nature. So we have to learn it through different exercises, and it takes quite a bit of time. For some people, sometimes it comes very naturally, but for most people, it takes quite a lot of time. A very popular myth that doing extreme vocals might somehow damage your vocal cords.
Yeah, and the pain is a part of the process.
It's a little bit more complicated, but in general, yes. But in fact, the only way how we could possibly damage your vocal cords is by making this additional air pressure when you sing. Because again, as I said, our vocal cords are very tender and gentle, and they are the first sort of barrier to that air pressure. Yeah. So they meet all this air pressure, and they are just not supposed to withstand it. So even if I take this whole motion with my false cords out of the equation and try to be as loud as possible with my clean vocals, then I will gradually damage my vocal cords. But you have to understand that this whole process takes quite a bit of time. I would say at least several months, depending on your general health, genetics, and how much pressure you add. So it won't be like you try to be as loud as possible one evening on a show and try to shout over this crowd, and then your voice will be going forever. No, that's not how it works. And again, as you would be losing your voice, you would have a lot of different symptoms which would tell you that you're doing something wrong. So those will include a sore throat after you sing.
Yeah, hoarse voice.
Yeah. voice would be fatigued. You would have a lot of voice cracks even when you speak. You might even lose your voice for several days, and it would come back later. But again, you should just pay attention to what you do with your vocals, be aware of what you do, and pay close attention to how you feel after you sing, especially on the next day. So if you're just not sure whether you do it in a safe way or not, just take some lessons from a competent teacher.
Yeah, so you're like a voice of reason for these people who wants to start. Just help them to slow down and create the structure and do it step by step.
So again, don't watch a lot of YouTube videos. Just try to make it step by step. Yeah,
listen to a professional teacher. And now all myths are busted, actually. Not all, but most of them.
Well, some of them, yeah.
Some of them. And I'm not really strong on vocal terminology, but as I understood, it's vocal cords, false cords, vocal distortion. So that's pretty sounds like you're teaching anatomy.
Yeah.
And I wonder if you apply the same structured approach to your performing projects.
Well, to be honest with you, sometimes you could lose your focus when you perform because you have all this sort of energy. You have to move a lot. Sometimes it's very hard during your show, and so the general approach to this is you should be. You should be aware of what you do during your practice, and during your performance, you would lose probably 20% of that.
So few.
Well, 20% sounds quite a lot, actually.
Let's talk about the example. So, Undercover Crew, that's a band, that's your cover band, which plays popular cover hits for alternative rock music from early 2000s, right?
Yeah, and sometimes 90s.
90s, okay. And what is so exciting about recreating other people's music? And there are two options for cover bands, right? To play it note for note or to put your own unique sound. So what's your choice?
Well, it's a very interesting question. I remember myself as a kid back at school. I used to have one of those MP3 players, and I used to listen to all sorts of different music. Mainly it was some old school stuff such as Queen, Deep Purple, Led Zeppelin, AC/DC, Metallica. But I also quite enjoyed some of modern bands of that time, such as Slipknot, Linkin Park, some others. I actually used to have Ville Valo's Hymn, album called Dark Light, and it's one of my favorite albums of all time.
He knows.
I know. As I was listening to all this music, I was sort of imagining as I would grow up and then hopefully learn how to sing and would be able to perform some of those songs live on stage in front of the audience. So you could say that this whole thing with Undercover Crew is a sort of embodiment of my childhood dream. And also, and also in the last year when I joined the band, I was going through a divorce, and it wasn't particularly happy time for me. So joining the band was some sort of escape from reality and depression. It worked out perfectly for me. As for trying to replicate somebody's voice, I don't think that I could really do that, because in my opinion, I sound quite differently from all those singers whose songs I wanted to learn. And again, it was never really my goal, because I just wanted to improve myself generally as a singer. I wanted to learn some different techniques, find some weak spots in my singing, maybe expand my vocal range and some other things. And maybe as I was doing that, I may have picked a few habits here and there from various singers, but again, it was never in my mind that I should mimic somebody. It was never a goal which I would pursue. As for music, we try to be pretty much close to how how people sound on the records, but as for voice, it's really difficult, especially for Undercover Crew, where we have a lot of different sorts of music, a lot of different singers. They sing very differently. It's just would be impossible to mimic everybody.
All right, so it's more like tribute than a cover band.
Well.
Do you put any difference in it?
Yeah, well, actually, in my opinion, tributes are usually closer to the original. So there's a really great tribute to AC/DC called Easy Deasy.
Yeah, we
did. And they don't just sound exactly; they look exactly like AC/DC. And I was at their concerts last year.
Easy, contact me.
Yeah. They are just terrific. I don't know how to explain this. There's a song from AC/DC's repertoire called Whole Lotta Lizzy. And they, when AC/DC does this show, they have this sort of huge doll of Lizzy, and they just throw it at the audience. And AC/DC did the same thing. I was really surprised to see that. It was just laughable. But again, it was really cool.
It is really cool. For some bands, it's just necessary to do, and that's a huge success to recreate it just the same way as it was like 20, 30 years ago.
Yeah.
All right, moving on to your another Vivid project, and this is MCR Tribute. That's a tribute to a legendary band, My Chemical Romance, and you have a name, your band called Asleep or Dead.
Yes.
Can you tell me about this name a little bit? I think I know, but I know you too.
Yeah, it is. It's a part of a song called Famous Last Words. So the lyrics there. So let me remember. I see you lying next to me with words I hope I'll never speak. Awake and unafraid, asleep or dead. So it's just a very iconic line from this band, and a lot of fans know this song. It's one of the probably most popular songs from their repertoire, and we just decided it would be a great name for our band. The fun fact is, when they first became popular, I never really heard about them a lot for some reason. Instead, I was sort of introduced to their music at about 2018, and I remember I almost instantly enjoyed the band because their songs have some sort of contrast between lyrics and music. So the music is usually quite high tempo. It makes you want to dance and move, and whereas their lyrics are quite dark, and they are about loneliness and depression, missing somebody who you loved, and death, and all those sorts of dark stuff. And to me, this contrast is very romantic and poetic, and I think this is what makes them stand out from other bands or from their generation. In the beginning of this year, a friend of mine who currently lives in Moscow, he visited St. Petersburg and suggested that we could start this tribute project. And I was really happy with the thoughts that we could make a band together. One thing I was a little bit skeptical about is how popular exactly is this music in Russia? How many people would be interested in visiting our live shows in case we do them? And it turns out my skepticism was completely off, because...
Let me take this part, please, because recently you had a gig with Asleep or Dead, and it was sold out. So how do you feel about this huge success, and how did you actually manage that? Well,
it wasn't just our solo concert. We had it together with a Placebo tribute called Picasso Blue, which is also a line from Placebo's song. I don't know which exactly. I'm not really familiar with a lot of their songs, unfortunately. But we had this show, and it was a complete sold out, as you said, and what I really enjoyed about this show is that a lot of young people came to visit this show, like 18, 19 years old. And to me, this means that this music still lives, it still goes on. And this audience was really energetic. They were just dancing and screaming, yelling, and I swear they knew all the lyrics to all the songs and they were singing along. So it just was an enormous experience in terms of the audience and the general energy exchange between us and the audience. So
that sounds awesome.
Yeah, unfortunately, I was quite ill on that day, and I got some kind of virus and wasn't able to perform as well.
You did it.
Yeah, but
Legend.
So in terms of my vocal performances, probably one of the worst performances. But again, the audience was very supportive and they enjoyed the show, so I guess that's okay.
I'm sure it's okay. And I'm so grateful for this opportunity to come to these kind of shows and to just dive into this nostalgic, savage atmosphere of music which we used to listen, and we still love it and it still touches our hearts. So thank you once again. And,
you're welcome.
Moving on to my last question.
Okay.
And let's talk about your future plans. So do you want to develop your existing projects, maybe create new ones, or just focus on teaching?
Well, I usually don't plan too many things ahead of time, and I also like to mix everything together so I won't get tired or bored of any of my projects. But I surely have, of course, I will develop everything that's going on with Undercover Crew and Sleep or Dead. So we surely will have some concerts in the following year. And actually, we have already planned one concert in Moscow with Asleep or Dead. And as for next year, I would say I probably have two major projects. First of all, we're thinking about creating a new tribute band. We're considering currently between 30 Seconds to Mars and Linkin Park. Yeah, both are enormous bands, very challenging for me as a singer, and both are very popular. So it would be no question that people would love to visit those shows.
You already have one fan.
Yeah.
Right here.
Yeah. And also I have some of my own material, some of my own songs, some of which are actually already recorded. And unfortunately, they are just lying on a shelf for several years.
Looking forward.
Yeah, hopefully I would be able to release some of this stuff in the next year with the help of some people who I just recently got familiar with. So yeah, just stay tuned, I guess.
We will, definitely. And that's all I have for you today. And I need to say that I'm truly impressed by your dedication and drive. It's amazing. And I wish you a huge success moving forward.
Thank you very much.
And it's been a wonderful conversation.
Thank you for your interview. It was really a great experience.
See you guys.